Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sophie. I'm so glad you're here and welcome to my 2026 bullet journal setup. I cannot believe I'm saying these words right now, but I'm so excited to be setting up my new bullet journal for the new year with you guys. I'm going to be using the Sophie Moonlight Melody A5 notebook in the color beige. I've had this notebook for quite a few months now. I was kindly gifted it by them. I think it was back in April, and I've been happily saving it for the new year because I knew for a fact the moment that I opened it that I wanted to use it for my new bullet journal in the following year. I am not being sponsored by Sophie today, but if you want to check the description box below out, I will have a link to this journal and a discount code that you can check out. But anyway, let's start out the video. I mean, I'm already speeding through it as we speak, but with the very first page in this setup, which is going to be a year at a glance spread. Now, if you guys have watched my bullet journal setups in the past, which I will include a playlist in the description box for you to go check out in case you want some more inspiration, but I usually have like a cover page where I either do some art or write like 2026 or something in really big letters, something like that to start out the year with. But for some reason, when I was thinking of ways to start out this year's setup, I was like, you know what? Why waste any time? I want to get into it. And one thing that is super satisfying to me to look at is a year at a glance page. Now, before you ask, yes, it took me flippin' forever to write every single one of these numbers in the calendar, literally 365 numbers down in this year at a glance spread. It took so long, but it's also so satisfying to watch in a time lapse and so satisfying to look at when it's all done because you get to see the entire year at a glance. That's literally the point of the name, Sophie. But yeah, I decided to just forego the cover page or the start page in this journal this year. Obviously, I had my name page in the very front, but I just wanted to jump into it with the year at a glance. I think it looks very minimal, but also very structured and simple, and I really like it. And that's honestly the theme that I'm going into this entire setup today with. The last couple of journal setups that I've done, I've actually incorporated a lot of art into the very opening spreads. When I first started my bullet journal, I'm talking like back in 2020, so a little bit of a flashback here, but I was so nervous to do my bullet journal spreads that actually it wouldn't even be 2020, it'd be 2021, but I did such a very minimal setup with only black ink, and I enjoyed the setup. It was nice, but in hindsight I was like, okay, it is a little boring to just have calendars and boxes in black ink. Let's spice it up a little. So then for the following couple of years, I've included increasingly more artwork to the point where last year I did a bird drawing and I had some really colorful like swirls and pinks and flowers on all of the pages and stuff, and it looked very nice, I'm not gonna lie. But going into this new journal for this year, for some reason I was thinking clean, minimal, simple, and organized, and so that's the vibe that we're kind of going into this setup with. Now, if you do think that any of these spreads looks very familiar to a different creator that you may have watched before, I will not lie at all. I took a lot of inspiration for these themes or these pages from the creator Leela Journals. I love her bullet journal spreads and the way that she mixes minimalism. I mean, she isn't very minimalistic anymore, but she has a very like small way of writing and keeping things very clean while also having a lot of like detail and beauty in them. And I really took some inspiration from that in this setup. So what I'm saying here is that my setup is going to be minimal. There's not going to be any art in it that I'm going to be drawing today. We're going to be relying on washi tape and pretty lines to make some things happen. But overall, I think that the setup is clean, it's simple, it perfectly prepares me for the new year, and I'm honestly very happy with it. So not to toot my own horn, but I think you guys are gonna really like it too. And if you want something more artistic, go back and watch some of my previous year's setups. As you can clearly tell, we are already like most of the way through the future log, at least page 1 of the future log in today's setup. I ended up actually splitting up this future log into 2 different pages because I wanted ample space to plan things. I actually, when I was sketching out everything, was thinking to myself, Sophie, in previous years you have squished things into a single spread that could have lapsed over multiple pages, and you didn't have to make it as small as it was, but you did. And so specifically in this setup, I'm giving myself plenty of room for planning just in case, you know, I want to really elaborate on things, because it always is frustrating when I have to pick and choose, at least in previous years when I had to pick and choose what things to include in a future log because I didn't have room to put every single date that I needed, you know? So just to make things easier and more productive for myself, I am making this future log stretch over 2 pages, and I'm giving myself plenty of space in each column, aka each month, to write down dates for the future. Also, just for a reference, I'm going to be using this journal for the entirety of 2026. In the past, I've used 2 journals per year, but in 2025, I used 1 journal in the entire year, and it was very nice to keep everything cohesive and together, so I'm doing the same thing for 2026. If you do not know what a future log is, to make things very simple, I have an entire video explaining my bullet journaling process of like my grading per year or per month, things like that, but on a grand scheme of things, this is like a calendar for the entire entire year. Obviously I have my little mini calendars again that I wrote out, but in every column I can put dates that I have planned in advance. For example, birthdays, anniversaries, exams for university, trips, doctor's appointments, even things that I do not have, quote, monthly setups in my bullet journal made for already. I will just write down in these columns, and then when, for example, July comes around and I actually make my July monthly setup, I will reference this page for all of my dates that I had previously planned, and I will just rewrite those dates in the July monthly setup. If that made no sense, again, I have long videos explaining this entire process for you, but most people on this channel know what a future log is, so I will not ramble on too long about the basics here. You may have noticed on the previous page I was using a more like color blocked washi tape to fill up the top of the spread at first, but I actually changed my mind and went with this different one. So both of the washi tapes were from the same, I think it's the Suki set from Notebook Therapy. I will have to check and see if this is still up on their shop. I received this washi tape kit from them multiple years ago, but it's a very beautiful, I think Lunar New Year inspired washi tape set, which is perfect because obviously New Year, although I do know that Lunar New Year is at the end of January, not the beginning of January, but I digress. It's still a new year. But I really specifically picked this one because I love the designs on it, and also because it combines goldish beige with the red. If you remember from the very cover of the journal, like the very front of the journal, it's a bird design with beige, and then there's also some red gilded flowers. So my entire theme going into these opening spreads was to keep things very light, airy, open, minimal beige, but I wanted to include little highlights of red, and I couldn't find a marker that I liked in my collection that really matched the color well, and I didn't really know how to incorporate it best. So instead of drawing different artworks with the red, I kept all of my markers very like beige, pink, you know, light inspired, and I just brought in pops of red with this washi tape and other washi tapes that are in similar colorways. So I basically cut around the washi tape and only included the sections where there's a lot of clear background, I guess. It's hard for me to explain when you're not actually looking at it because it was on the previous page at this point, but you'll see it again later on in the setup. I'm just basically using it as a way to substitute me drawing artwork instead of using the artwork in the washi tape itself. There was actually multiple times in the setup where I made choices that I then redacted. Like for example, in this page you'll see me put little cutouts from the washi tape in this spread. I will eventually take them out later. You'll see that happen eventually, but yeah, it's okay to always change your decisions even as you're in the middle of filming. Interrupting the setup for just a moment for some self-promo, but since I'm setting up my 2026 bullet journal in this video, I wanted to remind you guys that I do sell an undated bullet journal on my online shop, themingostudio.com. This is for my besties out there who want to be artistic, who want to be creative and plan things, but don't have time to set up their own bullet journal start to finish. My undated journal is, as it says, undated, so you can use any month in any order at any time, but you can fill in the spreads, fill in the calendars, color in all the coloring pages, and create your own spreads on the blank pages as well. If you're interested, I do keep the link in the description box of like all of my videos, and because it is the end of the year, I will be shipping out all packages ASAP. So check the link below. Thank you so much for your support in advance, and let's get back to the video. So let's discuss these spreads and what they're about. The previous page at this point said 2025 reflection on them, and I wanted to just leave myself room for some very open-ended journaling and bullet point and brain dumping from 2025. Recently, I have not been super into very intense goal setting or planning or things like that, simply because I have too much going on in my life right now to really like harp myself on whether or not I accomplished any goals, because I'm progressing in life even if I'm not checking off these specific boxes, you know? So it hasn't really been a big focus of mine, at least in the past year, but I wanted to give myself room to write down on the left side of the previous page my accomplishments from last year, and then on the right side I have two sections for my challenges, one for things that are in my control and one for things that are outside of my control, because I'm not about to put extra pressure on myself for things that I cannot control that happened last year. Now on this spread we're looking at goals for 2026. Again, very open-ended, very vague, nothing too heavy or detailed here, but I have 3 columns on the left for start, continue, and stop, aka habits I want to start, continue, and stop this year. On the right I have 6 sections for different categories of goals for myself. I believe the sections are personal, spiritual, relationships, academic, content, and career. And then on the bottom left of that spread, we also have my 2026 bucket list, which is, you know, not very serious, not very hard, firm lines of what I have to get done next year, but just some ideas of fun things I'd like to accomplish in the next 365 days. Again, for the last time, okay, I won't repeat myself too much more, but they're not going to be very strict, self-pressuring, because I need to do anything but to give myself more stress this year, I'm not going to lie, but I do want to give myself some direction and some careful re-steering from last year, if that makes sense. So I've done more intense goal setting pages in the past. If you want to check them out, again, previous videos probably has them somewhere, but this year I'm going to let myself just be able to journal and write down my thoughts and move on from there. Like in most of my setups, I do like to include a period tracker, and I'm doing the same thing for this year. This looks very similar to previous years, so this isn't anything new, but basically every column in this box is a different month, and yes, I do have a dot for every day of the entire year, going down to 31 days in January, 28 days in February, etc, etc, etc. What I basically do is just circle the dots on the days that I have my cycle, and this is just an easy way for me to track like how consistent I am, things like that. And I also have a space for symptoms and things that I'm tracking health-wise on the very left. I do have tracking for this on my phone, and honestly the same goes for reading, which is going to be the next spread in this bullet journal setup, but this is just like a habit of mine. I still like to include these kinds of spreads in my opening setups because I think it's just like a nice thing to include overall. It's an easy spread to make. I like how it looks. It's very purposeful nonetheless, just to track, you know, how my cycle is. Simple as that. And to give you guys an idea as well, if you want to include something similar in your own bullet journal, here's a layout idea that you can use. Now on the right side of the spread, we're going to be creating my first of 3 different reading trackers. This goes back to my previous statement of I often in previous years have given myself like one spread for something that I know is going to take more than one spread. I talk about this more on my book channel, which if you do not know, I do have a reading channel. It's called Sophie Joe. I talk books over there. It's so much fun. You should definitely go subscribe if you're a reader. But last year, or I guess this past year, 2025, I'm currently on my 82nd book of the year. That's right, 82 books in the year, which is kind of insane. But in my reading tracker at the beginning of the year, I literally had 25 lines for the entire year. And I knew at the time that I was going to read more than that because I consistently read about 50 plus books every single year. However, I only made one spread, which is stupid. So this year I was like, why are you not making multiple spreads when you know that you could genuinely use all that space? So because I just decided, hey, that's a great idea, maybe I should just continue making more spreads, I basically copied the exact same spread layout 2 more times. And that's on personal growth, okay? This is me trying new things, aka just duplicating something twice. So basically every single one of these pages has multiple columns. So on the left we have the date that I finished the book, in the middle we have the title of the book, and then the 5 columns on the very right represent like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, aka the star rating that I gave the book. I do usually give half-star ratings. For example, I will give a 4.5-star rating, but I would just check the box for 4 stars in that case. So I do track my books on Goodreads and Storygraph. I have used Fable in the past, although I am going to stop using that app for 2026. However, I do like to have a physical recording as well of all the books that I read, just because I feel like these journals of mine are just such time capsules that although I love tracking more detailed statistics on my phone, it would be such a joy to open up this bullet journal in like 50 years from now and see all the books that I read this year, you know, and all of my personal records of when I rated them and when I finished them. That's such a beautiful idea in my opinion. So although it may be redundant to write down every book that I read, both in my journal and also on my apps, I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I like doing it, I'm going to do it anyway. I also think that these spreads are honestly my favorite from the entire setup. They're so satisfying to look at with all the different rows, the columns. It looks like a little spreadsheet in my opinion, so like professional about just books. I love it. I love geeking out over my books. Like it's just perfect to me. So plenty of space. I believe there's like 85 lines total out of all 3 of those pages. 85 is not evenly divisible by 3, but something around that number. So I think that I will have plenty of room to write down every book that I read next year, unless I do something crazy and read like 90, 100 books next year, which would be absolutely wild. So unless I go off the rails, I should have enough space in those spreads to track my reading. All right, we are on the last spread, finally. Oh my goodness, so many spreads in today's video. This is like a treat for y'all. I usually don't do this many, but this last spread is going to be my diversity reading challenge page. Now, this is a completely new thing I am challenging myself to do in 2026, and I'm going to be discussing it in much more detail on my book channel, so I do not want to spoil you guys who are subscribed to both channels, but I will just pop in here and say I am going to be doing a challenge for myself in 2026 to be reading more diversely, and I'm going to be putting all the details in here. So on the left side we have a bingo card like box spread where there's 12 different boxes in this like bingo card, and when I check off the prompts I will just check off the boxes, simple as that. And then on the right we just have one big brain dump space. This is where I'm going to be putting book ideas for me to read during this challenge, and I already have quite a few ideas that I've listed on my book tracking apps again for these things, but again I want to just like list them here as well to coincide with the whole bingo card thing. Once more though, if you want to hear more about this challenge, I will be announcing it soon on my book channel, so stay tuned for that. Y'all got a little sneak peek over here, but again, more will be announced soon. The last thing I'm doing in today's video is actually doing this whole Dutch door tab thing with washi tape. I'm sure you noticed this like the entire video, but all of these spreads are actually cut about 1 centimeter in from the edge of the journal, and I cut out these little tabs on every single page. So I made 7 different spreads in today's video, and so I'm going to be like flipping through each of the tabs with these little notches on the side, and I wanted to decorate them with the washi tape that I used. So I kind of made a sort of ombre effect going from the lightest washi tapes at the very top to more medium tones in the middle, and then the heaviest like dark red at the bottom. And I tried to mismatch in between the washi tape with red on it and then the washi tape without any red on it to again give it more of an ombre textured color effect in the corner. I think this honestly made the entire setup come to life. I loved the setup before. It was simple, it was clean, but these little tabs add so much pattern, so much interest. Even though it's only just a little bit of color on the ends, it really does tie in the entire spread together. It makes all the spreads seem cohesive because they all have matching tabs. It's my favorite thing ever. I'm very glad that I added this little thing at the end. Anyway, with that being said, we are here at the final flip through of today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed and that you got some inspiration from today's video. I do have some interesting plans for my channel this year, but I hope that you subscribe so you won't miss it. And I will be posting my January bullet journal setup in about a week, I think. So you will see that very shortly as well. Again, make sure you subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what your plans are for bullet journaling in 2026. Are you doing one journal? Are you doing 2? Do you have a specific theme idea? Are you challenging yourself to do something? I'm very curious, so let me know down below. And if you're interested in my undated bullet journal, do not forget to check out the link in the description box below. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting me in 2025. I'm looking forward to what 2026 brings. Wishing you guys the best rest of your day, and I will see you very soon in the next one.